Hey guys, tonight we begin with the hidden beauty and profound sorrows that define the lives of Oiran, the high-ranking courtesans of Edo Japan. We'll delve into their exquisite artistry, the rigid world of the Yoshiwara, and the immense personal cost behind their captivating allure, emphasizing their strength, skill, and silent burdens. So, before you become an Oiran, take a moment to like the video and subscribe if you enjoy our content. And let us know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is. It's always a joy to see how many people from all over the world are ready for this journey. Now, dim the lights, close your eyes, feel your body deeply relax, leaving the day behind. Forget who you are right now, and let's begin your new life as the Oiran tonight. Congratulations, you've just woken up in the meticulously constructed, yet fiercely restrictive pleasure district of Yoshiwara in Edo period Japan. The good news? You are a vision of perfected beauty, adorned in silks that shimmer like moonlight. The bad news, your every breath is owned, and your future is not your own. Your bed is a luxurious futon, but the silk sheets feel heavy with the weight of expectation. The air is thick with the lingering scent of incense and expensive perfumes, a fragrant shroud that barely conceals the exhaustion etched on your soul. There's no soft lamp beside you, only the faint glow of paper lanterns filtering through shoji screens, illuminating a room that is both opulent and a gilded cage. You blink awake to the delicate rustle of silk as your kamuro, your young attendant, gently enters, signaling the arduous ritual of your day is about to begin. Your home, the okiya, is a grand house of wood and paper filled with the hushed sounds of other women preparing, practicing instruments, or waiting. Every corner is meticulously clean, every detail chosen for beauty, yet the walls hold no true privacy, no real escape from the constant gaze. The sweet scent of plum blossom incense mixes with the subtle odor of face powder and the faint, ever-present aroma of debt. You try to stretch, but your neck is stiff from sleeping in the high wooden pillow designed to protect your elaborate hairstyle. Your elaborate kimono, though beautiful, is a heavy burden, and the layers already feel constricting. You are barely in your 20s, yet the weight of your role feels ancient, your spirit yearning for a freedom that will likely never be yours. As the pale morning light begins to paint the shoji screens a gentle silver, your mind drifts, taking in the reality of your surroundings. You are not just in a house, you are within the walls of Yoshiwara, a world unto itself, a floating world as it was known. Yet, this floating world, vibrant and beautiful, was also profoundly grounded by rules and regulations, a place of carefully constructed illusion and stark, inescapable reality. Imagine for a moment stepping outside the okiya, not as you are now, but as a curious newcomer, a visitor to this district. The main gate, the omen, stands tall and imposing, a grand wooden archway that served as both an entrance and a formidable barrier. Its imposing presence, like a silent guardian, whispers of the world it both protects and confines, a world separate from the ordinary rhythms of Edo. And once you pass through it, the air itself seems to thicken, with a blend of anticipation and exotic aromas. The sweet scent of blooming plum trees in spring, the subtle spice of warming sake, the rich perfume of burning incense wafting from temples and tea houses, and the earthy aroma of tatami mats and old polished wood. This was Edo Japan's licensed pleasure district, meticulously planned and segregated from the bustling city, a place designed to be a spectacle, a carefully curated fantasy for its wealthy patrons. Its main thoroughfare, Nakami's Dori, would soon awaken with a slow, deliberate hum of activity. In the evenings, it transformed into a breathtaking river of light and sound, lined with opulent tea houses, lively kabuki theaters, and various establishments offering every conceivable form of entertainment and refined companionship. All were adorned with countless glowing paper lanterns, each flicker casting long, dancing shadows that played tricks on the eye, making the district feel both vibrant and slightly ethereal. A dream you could almost touch. The very architecture, with its intricately carved wooden facades, delicate shoji screens, and meticulously arranged gardens, promised beauty and fleeting pleasures. Every building, every carefully manicured garden was a work of art in itself, a grand stage set for the most exquisite performances of hospitality, charm, and refined artistry. Merchants proudly displayed their finest silks, jewelers offered sparkling ornaments of gold and jade, and tea-house proprietors beckoned with the promise of sophisticated conversation and delightful distractions. It was a microcosm of Edo society's most extravagant desires, a place where status and wealth were not just flaunted, but meticulously choreographed and indulged. But underneath this shimmering facade, this dazzling display of Edo culture, lay a strict, unyielding structure, an unseen framework that supported its entire grandeur. Yoshiwara was not a place of spontaneous joy or boundless liberty, but a thoroughly controlled commercial enterprise, a gilded cage built with precise intention and unwavering discipline. Every street, every house, every delicate interaction was governed by a precise code of conduct, a complex web of unwritten rules and explicit regulations that dictated every facet of daily life. The beautiful women who resided here, from the lowest ranking courtesan to the magnificent Oiran like yourself, were bound by unbreakable contracts and immense, often insurmountable debts that held them captive. It was a system designed for profit, where personal freedom was not just a luxury, but an almost impossible dream for most to attain. You were not free to come and go as you pleased, not in any real sense. The omen, that grand gate, was not merely decorative. It was a stark, enduring symbol of your confinement, a boundary you could rarely, if ever, cross without explicit permission, without an immense, almost mythical payment that very few could ever hope to gather. This district, dramatically rebuilt after the devastating Great Fire of Mereki, was strategically relocated to a swampy area on the outskirts of Edo, further reinforcing its physical and social isolation. Its labyrinthine alleys, while appearing charming and picturesque to the uninitiated, were also a highly practical means of control, ensuring that its residents and visitors could be closely monitored and managed. Outsiders could enter, drawn by the irresistible allure and promise of this unique world. But those within, particularly the women who formed its very heart and soul, found their exits far more difficult to navigate, if not entirely impossible. The entire system was meticulously designed, from its gates to its winding paths, to ensure that the women and the considerable wealth they generated through their artistry, intellect, and charm remained firmly within its confines, continually fueling its intricate economy. Consider the profound paradox that defined Yoshiwara, and by extension, your own life within it. The opulence, the celebrated artistry, the exquisite beauty you embody and painstakingly maintain, all were carefully cultivated for one primary purpose: transaction. The very beauty of Yoshiwara was a product, a service to be consumed by wealthy patrons seeking not only physical comfort, but also intellectual stimulation, refined conversation, and a temporary, luxurious escape from the often drab realities of their own rigid lives. Every delicate smile, every practiced gesture, every classical poem recited, every melancholic melody played on the shamisen was part of an intricate dance of commerce, a performance that required immense skill, profound cultural knowledge, and an unwavering emotional discipline. The district's prosperity was built squarely on the lives and talents of women like you, women who became living works of art, treasured and admired, revered even, but whose canvases were too often their own hearts, silently yearning for something more, for a genuine connection beneath layers of silk and powder, beneath the flawless mask they presented to the world. You, as an Oiran, stand at the shimmering apex of this floating world, a celebrated figure whose every public move is observed, whose every carefully chosen word is weighed. Yet, this elevated position offers little true freedom. The heavy layers of your exquisite kimono, the intricate, often painful hairstyles, the flawless, mask-like makeup, all serve to create a divine illusion, a persona that is admired and desired, but which also acts as a profound, impenetrable barrier between your true self and the world outside. You are a masterpiece of the floating world, admired by many, truly known by few, perhaps by no one at all. And now, awaken fully to this intricate reality, to the full weight of your identity. You are not merely a visitor here. You are intricately woven into the very fabric of this place, an indispensable part of its intricate machinery. This gilded cage is your home, its strict rules your daily compass, and its dazzling facade your carefully constructed public face. As the first rays of morning sun finally touch your room, they illuminate not just the breathtaking beauty of your surroundings, but the profound, unshakable truth of your place within them, a place where illusion and reality dance in perpetual, quiet tension, defining your very existence. You sit there, surrounded by the intricate beauty of your room, the heavy silk of your kimono, a constant reminder of your station. But close your eyes for a moment and allow your mind to journey back, far beyond the exquisite confinement of this okiya, far before you wore the elaborate hairstyles and heavy makeup. Imagine a different life, a life that was once yours, or rather, the life of a small, hopeful girl in a humble village, a girl who, like so many others, was about to have her destiny irrevocably altered. The path to becoming an Oiran did not begin with choice, but with the stark, unyielding hand of circumstance, usually that of grinding poverty. For countless families in Edo Japan, particularly those struggling against poor harvests, unexpected illness, or crushing debt, a terrible decision often loomed: to sell a daughter into service. This was not a casual transaction, but a desperate act of survival, a heart-wrenching sacrifice made in the face of destitution to save other family members from starvation or ruin. Imagine being that child, perhaps 7 or 8 years old, clinging to the familiar comfort of your mother's worn kimono, her scent, the rough warmth of your small, simple home. You might not fully grasp the words being exchanged, the hushed, burdened tones of your parents, the solemn faces of the strangers who had come to visit, but you would feel the tremor in your mother's hand, the distant look in your father's eyes. The journey from a rural village, or even the poorer districts of Edo, to the structured, imposing world of the Yoshiwara was itself a passage into the unknown, a journey from innocence into a predetermined fate. Perhaps you were told you were going to a grand house to learn beautiful things, to help your family. Perhaps your parents, through their tears, tried to paint a picture of opportunity, a future brighter than the one your village could offer. But deep down, a child's instinct would sense the profound shift, the irreversible nature of this departure. Picture the long walk, or perhaps a jostling cart ride, leaving behind the only world you had ever known, the familiar sounds of chickens scratching in the dust, the specific scent of your grandmother's cooking, the gentle murmur of a nearby stream. Each step would carry you further away from the laughter of siblings, the security of a parent's embrace, the simple, unrestricted freedom of childhood play. The world outside the Yoshiwara was vast and indifferent, but it was also a world where you had a name and a simple life that was your own. As you drew closer to the district, the air would begin to change, carrying new sounds, new smells. The clamor of the city, the unfamiliar voices, the scent of expensive incense mixed with something less definable, a subtle perfume of wealth and desperation. The buildings would grow taller, more ornate, the streets busier, filled with an array of people you had never encountered. And then, the gate, the omen, looming larger than anything you had ever seen, a threshold that once crossed could rarely be recrossed. For a small child, this would be less a grand entrance and more a formidable, inescapable maw. You, as that child, would have been delivered to the Okiya, a house that was now to be your home, your school, your prison. The doors would close behind you, not with a slam, but with a quiet, definitive click, sealing you within a world of polished wood, hushed voices, and an unspoken future. The familiar sounds of your village life would fade, replaced by the unfamiliar rustle of silk, the distant twang of a shamisen, the polite yet penetrating scrutiny of the women who would now oversee every aspect of your existence. This was the moment your childhood, as you understood it, ended. The carefree days of chasing butterflies or splashing in a stream were replaced by a new reality, the strict hierarchy of the Okiya, where even a tiny komuro, a child attendant, had her place, her duties and her future meticulously laid out. Your name, perhaps, might have been changed, a symbolic severing of ties to your past self. You were no longer just a girl from a village, you were a komuro, a blank canvas upon which the Okiya would begin to paint the elaborate portrait of an Oiran. The warmth of your mother's simple bedding would be replaced by the crisp, cool futon of the Okiya, and though it might be more comfortable, it would feel profoundly alien. The sounds of family conversation would be replaced by the measured tones of older courtesans, the stern instructions of the house mistress, the constant low hum of a world that never truly slept. Every gaze would be evaluating, every movement observed. Your value is now intrinsically linked to your potential, your ability to absorb the lessons, to embody the perfection that was demanded of an Oiran. This was not a life chosen, but a destiny assigned. The loss of innocence was not a sudden event, but a gradual erosion, like the gentle lapping of waves against a shoreline, each tide slowly reshaping the landscape of a young girl's heart. The bright-eyed wonder of a child would slowly give way to a knowing solemnity, a quiet resignation, as the weight of her future settled upon her small shoulders. You, as that child, would begin to understand, without needing words, that your life was no longer your own, but a valuable asset, an investment being carefully nurtured for a world of gilded facades and hidden sorrows. This transition from a child of poverty to a child of the Okiya was the foundational rupture, the moment the path was set, a path from which very few would ever truly deviate or escape. It was a silent personal tragedy, played out countless times within the vibrant yet ultimately confining world of Yoshiwara. The quiet click of the Okiya door, closing behind that young, bewildered girl, marked not an end, but a new, rigorous beginning. The initial shock of arrival would slowly give way to the relentless rhythm of her new existence. As a Kamuro, a child attendant, her days were now meticulously structured, every moment designed to shape her, to mold her into an exquisite instrument for the Yoshiwara. You, as that small girl, would soon find that even your play was a form of preparation, your every interaction a lesson. Imagine your first days, a blur of new faces, new rules, new smells. The kindness might be present, but it would be a professional kindness, a form of investment. You would be assigned to an older established Oiran, perhaps even the mistress of the house, to serve as her personal attendant. Your duties, though seemingly simple, were the very foundation of your future training. You would assist your Oiran with her elaborate preparations, fetching water for her bath, holding hairpins as she styled her hair, or patiently waiting as she applied layer after layer of white makeup. Observing her, day in and day out, you would absorb the silent lessons of grace, poise, and the demanding artistry required of her. You would see the meticulous attention to detail, the hours of physical endurance, the unwavering commitment to her public persona. These observations, though passive, were your first crucial steps in understanding the monumental task that lay ahead. Beyond serving, your life as a Kamuro also involved a rigorous curriculum designed to cultivate your latent talents. Education was not optional, it was paramount. You would spend hours in lessons, often under the watchful eye of a strict tutor or an older courtesan. Imagine the precise grip of a calligraphy brush in your small hand, painstakingly forming each stroke, each character needing to be perfect. The ink, smelling faintly of pine soot, would smudge your fingers, a constant reminder of the effort required. You would learn to read and write, not just the basic kana, but often complex kanji, as poetry and literature were essential tools for an Oiran's intellectual arsenal. Then came the music, the delicate yet demanding shamisen. Its 3 strings, taut and resonant, would require hours of dedicated practice. Your fingers, initially clumsy and tender, would slowly, painfully harden as you plucked and strummed, learning the melancholic melodies and vibrant rhythms that were the soundtrack of Yoshiwara. You might also be taught the koto, a long zither, its 13 strings offering a different kind of challenge, demanding a refined touch and deep musical understanding. Imagine the sheer repetition, the countless hours spent, the frustration of errors, and the quiet satisfaction of finally mastering a difficult passage. These weren't mere hobbies, they were the very bedrock of your future profession, tools that would distinguish you as a woman of profound cultural refinement. Dance, too, was integral. From an early age, you would learn the intricate movements of traditional Japanese dance, each gesture imbued with symbolic meaning, each posture requiring balance, grace, and expressive power. You would practice before a polished wooden floor, perhaps catching a glimpse of your own determined reflection, a child mimicking the elegant, flowing movements of the older women, striving for their effortless perfection. Every tilt of the head, every turn of the wrist, every soft step was practiced until it became second nature, a seamless extension of your cultivated charm. The Okiya itself was a world of strict hierarchy and constant observation. Even as a Kamuro, you were never truly alone. The other attendants, the older courtesans, the house mistress, all were silently assessing your progress, your temperament, your potential. There was no room for overt rebellion or a display of true childish petulance. Every tear had to be quickly stifled, every frustration masked by a polite smile. You learned early to read faces, to anticipate needs, to understand the unspoken rules that governed every interaction. This constant scrutiny, while perhaps stifling, also instilled a profound sense of discipline and an acute awareness of social dynamics, skills that would be indispensable later in life. Think of the long evenings after your duties were done, when the house filled with the sounds of entertainment and merriment from the client rooms. You, as a Kamuro, would be sent to bed, perhaps listening to the distant laughter, the music, the murmuring conversations. These sounds would paint a picture of the adult world you were destined to enter, a world of glittering silks and refined entertainment, but also a world of performance and intricate social dances. In those quiet moments, you might lie awake, the faint scent of incense from the main rooms a lullaby, pondering the future that was so clearly laid out before you, a future you had no power to alter. The lessons were not just artistic. They were lessons in resilience, in the art of presentation, in the constant suppression of your true self for the sake of perfected persona. You were being prepared not just to entertain, but to embody an ideal, to become a living, breathing work of art. The journey from that small, innocent girl to a Kamuro, And then to what you are now was a path paved with relentless discipline, unspoken sacrifices, and the steady, unwavering cultivation of artistry, all under the shadow of a life that was, in essence, an elaborately constructed performance. And with each passing day, with each practiced stroke of the brush, with each melodic note, the distance between the girl you once were and the woman you were destined to become grew wider and more profound. The transition from a mere kamuro to a shinzo was not a gentle unfolding, but a deliberate, often abrupt elevation into a world of heightened expectations and relentless artistic pursuit. The child who once fetched water and observed silently was now herself under intense scrutiny, her potential being tested, her every aptitude honed. You, as that blossoming apprentice, would feel the invisible weight of this transformation, the shift from basic chores to an all-consuming dedication to artistry. Your days, already structured, now became a tapestry woven with threads of intensive study and ceaseless practice. The hours you spent learning calligraphy, once a simple duty, transformed into a profound engagement with the very essence of brush and ink. Imagine the precise discipline required to hold the brush just so, feeling the subtle tension in your wrist as you guided the delicate bristles across fine paper. Each stroke, each kanji, was not merely a symbol, but an expression of beauty, a reflection of your inner refinement. You would learn the subtle nuances of ink shades, the importance of balance, and the emotional weight a single character could convey. The scent of fresh ink, mingled with the faint aroma of the rice paper, would become a familiar companion in these quiet, focused hours. Then came the shamisen, no longer a distant melody, but an intimate, challenging companion. The teacher, often a stern but fair older courtesan, would patiently guide your fingers over the smooth, lacquered neck, showing you the exact placement, the precise pressure needed to coax a pure note from its taut strings. Your fingertips would ache, then harden, slowly forming calluses, silent trophies of your dedication. You would learn complex pieces, each melody telling a story, expressing a mood, from the joyful exuberance of a festival to the quiet melancholy of unrequited love. The resonant twang of the shamisen filled the okiya, a constant reminder of the cultural heart of your world and of the perfection you were expected to achieve. The goal was not merely to play, but to feel the music, to infuse it with your own soul, even as your own true feelings remained carefully guarded. Dance, too, became a more rigorous discipline. You would move for hours, often before a large mirror, watching your own reflection, striving for an ethereal grace. Each movement, from the delicate flick of a fan to the sweeping flourish of a kimono sleeve, carried layers of meaning, telling stories without words. The precision was paramount. A single misplaced foot, a slightly awkward gesture could break the illusion. You would learn to convey sorrow with a bowed head, joy with a gentle sway, and allure with a subtle turn of the wrist. The heavy silk of your practiced kimono would rustle around you, sometimes restricting, sometimes flowing, a partner in your silent performance. Your muscles would ache, your feet grow tired, but the pursuit of flawless execution drove you onward. For an Oiran's dance was a living poem, a moving painting. Poetry and literature were not simply subjects to be memorized. They were tools of conversation, weapons of wit, and expressions of deep emotion. You would spend evenings studying classical texts, learning to compose waka and haiku, understanding the subtle allusions and cultural references that would charm and engage your sophisticated clientele. Imagine poring over ancient scrolls, the elegant script flowing before your eyes, committing verses to memory, analyzing their deeper meanings. These weren't idle pastimes. They were crucial for the intellectual sparring and profound discussions that defined an Oiran's interactions. Your mind became a well-stocked library, ready to retrieve the perfect verse or historical anecdote at a moment's notice, to captivate with your intellect as much as with your beauty. Alongside these artistic pursuits, your training in etiquette deepened, becoming an intrinsic part of your very being. Every bow, every gesture, every spoken word, every moment of silence was meticulously choreographed. You learned the proper way to serve tea, the delicate art of the tea ceremony, where every movement was a dance, every utensil held with reverence. You learned the subtle art of conversation, not just what to say, but how to say it, when to listen, when to offer a polite interjection, when to guide the dialogue with understated charm. This was about more than good manners. It was about presenting an unblemished facade, an image of cultivated grace and intellectual brilliance that was consistently flawless. The pressure, though rarely spoken aloud in harsh tones, was immense and ever-present. You were an investment, a precious commodity being shaped for an exacting market. Every lesson, every practice session was a test. Your teachers, your older sister courtesans, even the house mistress, watched with critical eyes, subtly encouraging, subtly correcting. There was no room for error, no allowance for mediocrity. The unspoken expectation was perfection, a flawless embodiment of the ideal Oiran, a woman of unparalleled artistry and captivating charm. This drive for perfection meant that your own desires, your fatigue, your anxieties, had to be suppressed, pushed deep beneath the surface. The public persona you were cultivating became a second skin, thicker and more resilient than your own. This stage, as at Shinzo, was a profound psychological journey. You were learning to become someone else, someone admired, desired, and untouchable. The girl from the village, the shy Kamuro, began to recede, replaced by the nascent Oiran, a figure of poised elegance and disciplined artistry. Yet beneath the layers of silk, beneath the carefully applied makeup, and behind the practiced, serene smile, a quiet battle was always being waged. The struggle to hold onto a glimmer of your true self, even as you became a living masterpiece, designed for the world of the floating world. The cost of this ascent was not just measured in coin, but in the slow, gradual erosion of personal identity, exchanged for an illusory crown of prestige and a life of perpetual, exquisite performance. The ceaseless practice of calligraphy, the intricate melodies on the shamisen, the graceful movements of the dance, all were preparations. But the true test, the culmination of your disciplined Shinzo years, came in the presence of the clients themselves. It was here, in the hushed intimacy of a tea room or during a carefully orchestrated gathering, that the abstract lessons of art and etiquette transformed into a living, high-stakes performance. You, as that aspiring Oiran, would now begin to apply your cultivated skills, stepping onto a stage far more demanding than any practice room, a stage where every word, every glance, every moment of silence carried immense weight. Imagine your first supervised interactions, perhaps a trembling in your stomach that you quickly learned to suppress. You would be presented to a patron, often alongside an older established Oiran, or under the watchful eye of the house mistress. The atmosphere would be charged with an unspoken expectation. Your role was not merely to entertain, but to charm, to engage, and to make the client feel uniquely valued and understood, all while meticulously adhering to the labyrinthine rules of Yoshiwara's social dance. The conversation was an art form in itself, a delicate balance of listening intently, offering witty retorts, and subtly guiding the dialogue. You would have learned the art of tsukai komi, the ability to read a client's mood, to anticipate their desires, and to steer the conversation towards topics that would delight and impress them. The rules were intricate, often unspoken, yet fiercely enforced. For instance, you could never directly flatter a client with crude compliments about their wealth or appearance. Instead, you would praise their refined taste in art, their intellectual prowess, or their deep understanding of poetry. A well-placed classical allusion, a perfectly recited waka that resonated with their expressed feelings, or a thoughtful question about a current event could build a connection far stronger than any simple flattery. It was a game of subtle intellectual sparring, a dance of veiled intentions, where your intelligence and quick wit were your most valuable assets, often more so than your physical beauty. You had to be a walking library of culture, a master of psychology, and a flawless actress all at once. Consider a moment where a client might try to delve into personal questions, perhaps probing about your past, your family, or your true feelings. This was a boundary you were strictly trained to defend. With a gentle smile, a demure lowering of your gaze, or a clever redirection, you would deflect the inquiry, smoothly shifting the conversation back to a neutral, culturally rich topic. Perhaps you would share an anecdote about a famous poet, or comment on the beauty of the tea ceremony, never allowing the mask to slip, never revealing the vulnerability that lay beneath your perfected facade. The fear of making an error was a constant undercurrent, a subtle tension that coiled within you. A misstep in conversation, an unintentional breach of etiquette, or failure to captivate a high-ranking patron could have severe consequences, from a stern reprimand from your superiors to the loss of valuable patronage, impacting not only your own standing but also the financial stability of the okiya. The social dynamics within Yoshiwara were a complex web. You were constantly aware of the other courtesans, the silent hierarchy, and the subtle competition for favored clients. Every interaction was observed, every success noted, every perceived failure a mark against your meticulous training. This constant scrutiny, while fostering discipline, also fueled a relentless drive for perfection. You learned to project an aura of effortless charm, even when internally you might be calculating your next move, recalling a specific poem, or simply battling exhaustion. The ability to present a serene, captivating persona, no matter the internal turmoil, became a vital survival skill. Imagine the mental effort required during these extended interactions. The hours could stretch long into the night, filled with polite laughter, engaging discussions, and the constant need to be on. Your mind would be racing, analyzing, predicting, and performing, all under the guise of casual, effortless grace. The heavy weight of your elaborate hairstyle, the restrictive layers of your kimono, the delicate balance of maintaining your makeup, these physical burdens were secondary to the sheer mental endurance required. Each client interaction was not merely a social call. It was a complex negotiation of expectations, a display of your profound artistry, and a high-stakes test of your emotional control. You were learning, through these practical experiences, that the world of Yoshiwara was built on a foundation of meticulously crafted illusions. Your role as a Shinzo was to master the creation and maintenance of this illusion. You were to be a mirror, reflecting the desires and aspirations of your clients, a living canvas upon which they could project their fantasies. Yet, in doing so, you risked losing sight of your own reflection, your own true self, the delicate art of enticement, the cultivation of wit and charm, the mastery of intricate social rules. All were essential for your ascent, but they came at the profound cost of your authentic self, further cementing your identity as a performance rather than a person. This was the relentless, unforgiving reality of your apprentice years, shaping you day by day into the exquisite yet confined Oiran you were destined to become. The long years as a mere Shinzo, filled with endless practice and meticulous observation, were not without their profound purpose. Every brushstroke, every resonant note coaxed from the shamisen, every graceful movement in a dance, every carefully chosen word in a polite conversation was a calculated step on an arduous yet undeniably glittering path. And now, after years of unwavering dedication, after proving your mastery of the traditional arts and demonstrating an unshakable discipline, the moment both coveted and dreaded finally arrived. The moment of your formal ascent. You were to become an Oiran, a figure of unparalleled prestige, a living jewel, indeed the very crown of Yoshiwara. For those outside the guarded gates of the district, for the curious observers from Edo society and the eager, affluent patrons who frequented its pleasure houses, the promotion of a promising Shinzo to the exalted rank of Oiran was nothing short of a spectacle. It was a cultural event of the highest order, a highlight in the floating world's vibrant, ever-shifting calendar. But for you, the individual at the very center of this dazzling public display, it was a moment imbued with profound dualities. Immense honor and recognition inextricably intertwined with an even deeper, more elaborate embrace of your gilded cage. It was a formal declaration of your immense worth, yes, a testament to your cultivated talents, but also a final, unshakable binding to a predetermined destiny. Imagine the flurry of preparations leading up to this monumental day. The Okiya, your house, would be abuzz with a different kind of energy, a celebratory hum that vibrated subtly beneath the surface of its usual quiet, almost reverent efficiency. Your young Kamuro, your personal attendants, would attend to your every need with an almost solemn reverence, understanding perhaps instinctively the immense gravitas of the occasion. The very air itself would seem to shimmer with a heightened sense of anticipation, thick with the scent of expensive perfumes, fresh silks, and the underlying aroma of burning incense. This was not merely a promotion. It was a grand debut, a public unveiling, a meticulously orchestrated transformation witnessed by the entire discerning world of Yoshiwara. The financial cost associated with this ascent, this official declaration of your new status, was quite simply astronomical. It was a staggering sum that would inevitably plunge you even further into an unbreakable web of debt to the Okiya, solidifying your intricate ties to the house for not just years, but likely decades to come. This debut ceremony, often referred to as mizuage, in a broader sense for a courtesan's formal retirement, but here signifying your full emergence as an Oiran, required an unprecedented outlay of funds. It involved hosting lavish banquets for influential patrons and district officials, commissioning extravagant gifts, and, most visibly, acquiring an entirely new wardrobe. This was not just clothing. It was an array of the most exquisitely hand-embroidered kimonos, each one a breathtaking masterpiece of shimmering silk and unparalleled artistry. Think of the finest, most delicate silks, carefully dyed with precious natural pigments extracted from rare flowers, vibrant leaves, and even tiny insects, then painstakingly embroidered with auspicious motifs of graceful cranes, resilient pine trees, and delicate cherry blossoms. Each individual stitch a silent testament to countless, arduous hours of human labor. The cost of just one of these ceremonial kimonos could easily have sustained an entire humble family for a full year, a stark and unsettling reminder of the immense economic engine that powered your magnificent, yet confined world. Even the expense of your elaborate hair ornaments alone, intricately crafted from precious tortoiseshell, vibrant coral, gleaming gold, and lustrous jade, would be sufficient to purchase a small, simple house outside the district's walls. Every single detail, from your personalized, intricately lacquered comb to the delicate, hand-painted fan you would soon wield with such practiced grace, represented a substantial financial investment, a further undeniable lien on your very being, a tightening of the golden bonds that held you. The ceremony itself, often a public procession, was a theatrical performance of the highest, most refined order. Picture yourself in the quiet, charged moments just before your grand public appearance. The hours of preparation would be extended, even more meticulous and demanding than your already arduous daily routine. Your face, a canvas of quiet anticipation, would be carefully made up with multiple translucent layers of white powder, imparting to your skin an ethereal porcelain-like glow. This would be followed by delicate, precise touches of crimson on your lips and around your eyes, enhancing their expressive, captivating power. Your eyebrows would be drawn with painstaking precision, each arch a symbol of your refined beauty and cultivated composure. Then, the hair. Oh, the hair. It would be styled into an astonishingly elaborate, towering creation, a majestic crown painstakingly woven from your own long, dark tresses, intricately pinned, lacquered, and secured. Heavy with a multitude of ornate hairpins, gleaming combs, and shimmering silk ribbons, it would be a breathtaking work of art, a gravity-defying sculpture, but also a physically demanding burden. It restricted your next movement, subtly but firmly, demanding an upright, impossibly regal posture. Each individual hairpin, a tiny, intricate sculpture in itself, would catch and reflect the light, drawing all eyes to your head, to your presence, to the unparalleled artistry of your presentation. The pervasive, sweet scent of camellia oil, carefully used to condition and style the hair, would be a constant, fragrant reminder of the exquisite care and profound effort poured into perfecting your iconic appearance. Finally, the kimonos. Layer upon exquisite layer of silk, each one a different pattern, a different color, all meticulously chosen to harmonize into a breathtaking symphony of fabric, texture, and intricate design. The innermost layers would be soft, almost like a whisper against your skin, offering a fleeting moment of comfort, while the outer garments, especially the magnificent uchikake, a long, flowing outer robe, would be impossibly heavy and richly embroidered, trailing behind you like a royal cape. The sheer weight of these numerous layers, though undeniably magnificent, would press upon you, a constant physical representation of the expectations, the myriad obligations, and the deepening unshakable debt you now carried. Your obi, a wide, elaborate sash tied at the back in an intricate, complex knot, would further cinch your waist, creating an elegant, yet undeniably confined silhouette. Each garment, each meticulously chosen accessory, was selected not merely for its undeniable aesthetic beauty, but for its profound symbolic power, loudly proclaiming your exalted status, the reputation of your house, and your unparalleled artistry. As you finally emerged for the public ceremony, the atmosphere would be thick with anticipation, almost palpable. Imagine the hushed murmuring of the gathered crowd, then the collective gasp of admiration that would ripple through the onlookers as your figure came into view. You would move with a deliberate, almost otherworldly grace, your footsteps measured, your gaze serene, a carefully constructed illusion of composed detachment. The flickering lights of the paper lanterns would catch the iridescent shimmer of your silks, the subtle gleam of your countless hair ornaments, transforming you, for a precious few moments, into an almost mythical figure, a fleeting vision of perfection, a living deity gliding through the floating world. This debut, this grand ascension was, in the eyes of the public and the patrons, a moment of supreme triumph, the culmination of years of training. Yet, for you, the Oiran, it was also a profound personal sacrifice. The thunderous applause, the admiring glances, the deference shown to your newly elevated status, all of it was an intrinsic part of the grand spectacle. The glittering, carefully maintained, gilded facade, deep beneath the layers of silk, beneath the flawless mask of meticulously applied makeup, and behind that serene, practiced smile, you knew the true, unwavering cost. This was not freedom. It was an even more elevated, more beautiful, and far more intricate form of captivity. It was a crown forged from the unyielding chains of debt, worn with a serene, practiced smile that, for a precious few, barely concealed the immense, unspoken burdens of your illusory reign. Your debut as an Oiran, then, was not merely an event, it was a coronation, a public acknowledgement of your ascent to the very pinnacle of the floating world. From that day forward, you were no longer just an apprentice, you were a celebrated figure, a cultural icon whose presence commanded reverence and whose beauty and intellect were the talk of Edo's elite. Your name, whispered with awe and curiosity, began to circulate among the wealthiest merchants, the highest-ranking samurai, and the most influential government officials. These were the men who could afford your company, men who sought not just fleeting pleasure, but refined conversation, intellectual stimulation, and the unparalleled prestige of being seen with an Oiran. The clients, who now frequented your okiya, were of a different caliber. They were men of education, power, and vast resources, accustomed to the finer things in life, and demanding the utmost in sophistication and artistry. They would visit you not for quick liaison, but for extended evenings of poetry recitation, philosophical debate, elegant musical performances, and the subtle, intricate dance of high-level conversation. Your role was to be their muse, their intellectual equal, their most captivating confidant, a woman whose every gesture and word was meticulously crafted to enchant and engage. The fame that accompanied your new status brought with it a different kind of pressure, the weight of constant expectation to always perform, always embody the flawless ideal. Your reputation, and by extension, that of your okiya, rested squarely on your shoulders, a heavy yet invisible burden that never truly lifted. It is crucial now, as we delve deeper into your life, to clarify your distinct and truly unique position within the intricate social tapestry of Yoshiwara, and indeed, of Edo Japan. There is a common misconception, one that often blurs the lines in the modern imagination between an Oiran and a geisha. But to understand your world, to truly grasp the weight of your crown, we must draw a clear distinction. You, as an Oiran, occupied an entirely separate, vastly elevated, and far more ancient tier within the pleasure districts. A geisha, which literally translates to artist person, emerged later in Japanese history and focused primarily on entertainment, singing, dancing, playing music, and facilitating conversation for parties. Their role, while refined and demanding, was fundamentally that of an entertainer. They did not engage in sexual services. Their artistry was their sole offering. Their appearance, though elegant, was typically more understated compared to the Oiran's dazzling, almost theatrical grandeur. They wore simpler kimonos, their hairstyles were less elaborate, and their makeup, while still an art form, was not designed to create the same divine, untouchable aura. They worked in different districts, often more freely, and their contracts, while still binding, were generally less severe in their financial implications, offering a greater degree of personal autonomy, even if still limited. They were, in essence, skilled professionals, providing entertainment and companionship, but rarely holding the same societal cachet as an Oiran. You, on the other hand, as an Oiran, were a courtesan of the highest possible rank, a flower queen, whose artistic and intellectual prowess was simply unparalleled. Your entire being was a living, breathing work of art, curated and perfected over years of intense training. Your skills encompassed all that a geisha offered and far, far more. You were expected to be a master of classical arts, a poet, a calligrapher, a musician of exceptional talent, and a conversationalist of profound depth and wit. But critically, you were also a sexual companion, albeit one whose favors were not easily granted and came at an astronomical cost. The path to your bed was a long and arduous one for any patron, involving multiple, increasingly expensive visits where the true engagement was almost entirely intellectual and artistic, testing the client's patience, discernment, and genuine desire for your company. Physical intimacy was the ultimate privilege, granted only after considerable investment and a demonstrable, enduring connection. A rare culmination of a truly cultivated relationship, your social standing was vastly superior. An Oiran was a celebrity, a trendsetter in fashion and culture, a woman who dictated the terms of her engagements. She did not go to her clients. Clients came to her, often enduring a complex and costly series of introductions before even being permitted to formally meet her. Her public appearances, like the famed Oiran Dochu procession, were majestic spectacles that drew crowds, whereas a geisha's presence, while appreciated, was more intimate and confined to private settings, often reserved for smaller, more private tea houses or banquets. The debt you carried, the sheer investment the okiya had made in your training and presentation, reflected this extraordinary status. You were not simply a performer, you were a symbol of ultimate luxury, refined culture, and unattainable beauty, a living embodiment of the Edo period's most extravagant desires, a woman whose entire existence was a carefully choreographed dream. So, while both an Oiran and a geisha were women of exceptional skill and grace, their roles, their social standing, their artistic offerings, and the nature of their services were profoundly, unequivocally different. To be an Oiran was to inhabit a realm of heightened artistry and profound demand, a life of dazzling public performance underpinned by a stark personal confinement. Your crown, though glittering with prestige and admiration, was also heavy with the knowledge of this unique, singular role you played in the floating world. A role few could ever truly understand or replicate. You were revered, yes, but also perpetually on display. A living legend whose every moment was a calculated move within the grand, intricate game of Yoshiwara, a game you are now, irrevocably, a master of. The first faint hint of morning light, barely a suggestion through the shoji screens, signals the beginning of your day. For most, sunrise brings the promise of gentle awakening, a slow stretch, a quiet sip of tea. But for you, an Oiran, dawn marks the commencement of an elaborate, demanding ritual, a silent performance of transformation that must occur long before the world outside truly stirs. Your day does not begin with personal desires, but with a meticulous, often arduous, construction of your public persona. Imagine the quiet, almost reverent entry of your kamuro, your young attendants. They move with practiced softness, their presence a gentle nudge back to the reality of your station. The air is cool, carrying the lingering traces of incense from the night before, a fragrant prelude to the fresh scents of cosmetics and oils that will soon fill the room. You sit before a polished bronze mirror, its surface reflecting not just your face, but the immense task ahead. This mirror is your silent confessor, reflecting the unadorned self that few ever see, before the layers begin to obscure. The first step, the foundation of your flawless facade, is the application of makeup. This is not a quick, casual process. It is an hours-long, intricate art form passed down through generations. Your kamuro will begin by gently massaging your face with a delicate oil, preparing the skin. Then comes the oshiroi, the iconic white base. It is a thick, liquid paste derived from rice flour and water applied with meticulous care using a broad, flat brush. Imagine the cool, almost clay-like sensation as it covers your skin, obliterating any imperfections, creating a pristine, ethereal canvas. This is applied not just to your face, but to your neck, décolletage, and often the upper back, creating a seamless, mask-like effect, distinguishing you from ordinary women, elevating you to an almost divine status. The process requires immense patience, each stroke precise, ensuring no streaks, no uneven patches, just a smooth, uniform expanse of pure, unblemished white. Once the oshiroi is perfectly set, the work continues with the delicate artistry of color. Your eyes are outlined with a fine brush dipped in red and black pigment, enhancing their shape, making them appear larger, more expressive. The subtle hint of crimson around the outer corners, a technique called benikake, draws attention to your gaze, conveying a sense of alluring mystery. Your eyebrows are redrawn with meticulous precision, often in a slightly arched, elegant line, framing your face with striking definition. Then, the lips. The beni, a deep, rich crimson pigment made from safflower, is applied with a tiny brush, carefully outlining and filling your lips into a small, delicate cupid's bow shape, creating an illusion of a perpetually blossoming flower. This is not about realistic beauty. It is about stylized, idealized perfection, a living painting. Each touch of color is deliberate, each shade chosen to evoke a specific mood or enhance your ethereal presence. As the makeup settles, the arduous process of hairstyling begins. Your long, dark hair, traditionally left unwashed for days to allow it to hold its shape, is an architectural marvel. It is combed, sectioned, and painstakingly sculpted into one of several elaborate, towering styles, each one signifying your Oiran rank in the specific occasion. Styles like the Hyogo or the Tachibana were magnificent constructions, demanding hours of a skilled stylist time, often with the assistance of your kamuro. Imagine the constant pulling, the careful manipulation of each strand, the precise pinning with dozens of long, slender pins to create those gravity-defying loops and intricate knots. This process is often painful, the scalp stretched taut, your neck held rigid for prolonged periods. The camellia oil, used generously to condition and hold the hair, provides a sweet, pervasive scent, but also adds to the weight. Then come the ornaments, a dazzling array of kanzashi, decorative hairpins, combs, and silk flowers, is meticulously placed into your towering coiffure. Made from precious materials like tortoiseshell, coral, jade, and gold, these ornaments are not merely decorative. They are symbols of your wealth, your status, and the artistry of your house. Heavy and often cumbersome, they further restrict your movement, forcing you into a posture of elegant, almost immobile dignity. Each piece is chosen for its beauty and its symbolic meaning, reflecting the season, the event, or even your personal disposition. The entire headpiece, a delicate balance of art and weight, transforms your silhouette, making your head appear impossibly grand, almost too beautiful to be real. Finally, the kimonos. This is not merely dressing, it is an elaborate layering ceremony, a quiet ritual performed by your experienced attendants, often taking another hour or more. You begin with the soft, innermost layers, the harajuban and nagajuban, whispers of silk against your skin. Then come the numerous outer kimonos, each one a different pattern, a different color, all chosen with painstaking care to harmonize into a breathtaking symphony of fabric. The uchikake, your outermost robe, is the most magnificent and the heaviest, often intricately embroidered with gold and silver thread, depicting scenes of nature or mythical creatures. It trails behind you, a flowing river of silk demanding careful, measured movements. Imagine the feel of the cool, smooth silk, then the increasing weight as layer after layer is meticulously placed, each garment a profound statement of luxury and artistry. Your obi, a wide, exquisite sash, is tied in an intricate, often very large knot at your back. This is not just a belt, it is a work of art in itself, further cinching your waist, restricting your breath, creating that iconic, elegant silhouette. The physical demands of this morning ritual are immense. The hours spent sitting still, the weight of the hair, the layers of clothing, the restrictive posture, all coalesce into a profound physical burden. Yet, through it all, you must maintain an expression of serene composure, a quiet strength. The process is a testament to your endurance, your dedication, and your unwavering commitment to the illusion you embody. By the time the final pin is placed, the last layer of silk smoothed, you are no longer just a woman. You are the Oiran, a vision of perfected beauty, ready to step onto the stage of Yoshiwara, a living masterpiece of art and discipline, meticulously crafted to captivate and enchant the world, even as your true self remains carefully hidden beneath. Having painstakingly constructed your magnificent persona, the physical transformation is complete. Yet, your day as an Oiran is far from over. It is now that your intellectual and artistic talents truly take center stage, flowing seamlessly from ritual into performance. Your mornings, after the arduous preparations, were not simply idle waiting. They were a continuation of the intense discipline that defined your life. You would often dedicate these hours to further honing your traditional arts, ensuring that your skills remained sharp, your performances captivating. Picture yourself in a quiet room, perhaps overlooking a small, meticulously raked garden, the scent of fresh tea wafting gently in the air. Here you might spend time practicing calligraphy, not merely as a chore, but as a meditative art. Each character you form with your brush, guided by a steady hand, is a dance of ink and paper, a testament to years of dedicated training. The subtle variations in pressure, the fluidity of the stroke, the precise balance of the composition, these were all reflections of your inner harmony and artistic mastery. It was a moment of focused stillness, a quiet assertion of your intellectual depth, a skill revered by the most discerning patrons. Or perhaps you would turn to music. The koto, with its 13 strings stretched across a long wooden body, would offer a different kind of challenge, demanding a delicate touch and profound concentration. Your fingers, adorned with long, elegant picks, would pluck and strum, coaxing out intricate melodies that spoke of ancient tales, of love and loss, of the fleeting beauty of the natural world. The resonant sound would fill the quiet room, a soothing presence, a testament to your command over this intricate instrument. Alternatively, the shamisen, your familiar companion, might call to you, its 3 strings capable of both lively, celebratory tunes and melancholic, soulful ballads. These practice sessions were not for public consumption, but for personal refinement, a constant striving for perfection in the arts that were so integral to your identity. Beyond these artistic endeavors, your elevated status also brought with it responsibilities of management. An Oiran, particularly a renowned one, was often responsible for supervising her own staff within the Okiya. This included your personal Kamuro and Shinzo, guiding their training, overseeing their duties, and ensuring the smooth running of your personal quarters and the rooms dedicated to your clientele. This required not just grace, but also a sharp mind for administration, a subtle hand in diplomacy, and an unshakable authority. You were, in many ways, the mistress of your own small domain within the larger structure of the Okiya, a testament to your capability beyond mere beauty. You might review accounts, instruct your attendants on specific protocols for an upcoming client, or address minor disputes, always maintaining that serene, composed demeanor. But the pinnacle of your public day, the moment that truly encapsulated your role as a cultural icon, was the grand spectacle known as the Oiran Dochu. This was not a private performance, but a breathtaking public procession, a carefully choreographed parade through the main thoroughfare of Yoshiwara, Nakami's Dori. It was a display of unparalleled elegance and a living tableau of the floating world's most exquisite artistry, drawing crowds of curious onlookers, eager patrons, and even aspiring young courtesans from across the district. Imagine the atmosphere as the time approached. The streets would be cleared, hushed murmurs giving way to a collective anticipation. You would emerge, resplendent in your heaviest, most magnificent uchikake, its vibrant silks shimmering under the afternoon sun or the soft glow of countless lanterns. Your towering hairstyle, adorned with its multitude of dazzling kanzashi, would gleam, a literal crown of intricate beauty. You would be attended by your kamuro, often dressed in miniature versions of your own elaborate attire, and several shinzo, who would walk beside you, holding your train or carrying your paraphernalia. The Oiran Dochu was characterized by your distinctive, slow, and deliberate walk, known as the Hachimanji walk, the figure eight walk. Each step was an art form in itself, a majestic, almost exaggerated shuffle where your wooden clogs, the towering geta, sometimes over 8 inches high, would swing outward in a graceful arc, leaving a distinct, elegant pattern on the ground, like the character for 8, BAA. This walk required immense balance, strength, and years of practice. It was not merely walking. It was a slow, deliberate glide, a moving meditation that commanded absolute attention. The entire procession moved at your stately pace, a hypnotic rhythm that entranced the onlookers. The sounds of the dochu were as captivating as the sights. The soft shuffle of your heavy kimonos, the gentle clatter of your geta, the rustle of your attendants' silks, and the hushed murmurs of the crowd, punctuated by gasps of admiration, all created a unique soundscape. There would be no loud music or boisterous calls, only the dignified silence that befitted such a revered figure. You would maintain an expression of serene detachment, your gaze direct yet distant, acknowledging the crowd without truly engaging, embodying the ideal of untouchable perfection. You were a goddess descending to bless the mortal realm, an icon of exquisite beauty and cultural refinement, paraded for all to see, a living testament to the artistry and allure of Yoshiwara. This procession was more than a display of beauty. It was a powerful statement of cultural significance, a moving testament to the Oiran's role as a leading figure in fashion, art, and entertainment. In a way, an Oiran Dochu could be likened to a modern-day fashion show, a red carpet event, or a royal parade, where every detail is curated, every movement scrutinized, and every participant plays a vital role in showcasing an ideal. Your every public appearance was a masterful performance, a vivid confirmation of your elevated status and the profound cultural impact you wielded within the floating world. You were not just existing, you were performing your existence, embodying the very essence of artistry and grace, even as the heavy weight of your adornments and the demands of your role pressed upon your spirit. Your day, from the intimate rituals of morning preparation to the public grandeur of the dochu, was a relentless, beautiful, and deeply personal performance. After the elaborate rituals of your morning and the majestic spectacle of the Oiran Dochu, the stage was set and your exquisite persona perfected. Yet, for all the breathtaking beauty you embodied, for all the shimmering silks and intricate hairstyles, your true, most formidable power, the very core of your allure, resided not in your appearance, but within your mind. It was your wit, your formidable intellect, your deep well of cultural knowledge, and your unparalleled conversational mastery that truly distinguished you, attracting and retaining the highest echelons of clientele. Imagine sitting in a private tea room, the soft glow of a lantern illuminating the delicate patterns on your kimono, the air thick with the subtle scent of blooming jasmine. Across from you sits a powerful merchant or a high-ranking samurai, a man whose life is filled with political intrigue, complex business dealings, and the weight of societal expectations. He has seen countless beautiful women, but he has sought your company. Why? because you offer something far more profound than fleeting physical beauty. You offer a sanctuary for the mind, a space for stimulating intellectual exchange that few others could provide. This was the reverse theory of the Oiran's appeal. While her visual splendor was undeniable, it was merely the exquisite packaging for an even more valuable offering. Your charm was not a superficial smile. It was a carefully cultivated intellectual sharpness, a profound understanding of the human heart and mind. You were a living library, an astute observer of human nature, and a master strategist, all concealed beneath layers of elegant composure. Your education, rigorous and unrelenting since childhood, had prepared you for this. You were not merely reciting poetry. You were engaging in a nuanced dance of literary illusion. A client might quote a line from The Tale of Genji, and you would effortlessly respond with a verse from the Manyoshu, or perhaps even compose a spontaneous waka that subtly commented on his mood or the theme of the conversation. This wasn't rote memorization, it was the intuitive application of vast knowledge, a testament to your deep immersion in the classics. You understood the emotional resonance of each poem, the historical context of each tale, and how to weave them seamlessly into dialogue, making your words sparkle with intelligence and insight. Your knowledge extended far beyond poetry. You were expected to be conversant in history, in the intricate political landscape of Edo, and in the current events that shaped their world. Imagine discussing the latest imperial decree with a government official, or debating the philosophical underpinnings of a popular kabuki play with a renowned playwright. Your opinions were valued, your insights respected. You were not a passive listener. You were an active participant in profound intellectual discussions, capable of challenging, amusing, and enlightening your patrons. This art of mental connection was paramount. It fostered a bond built on respect and intellectual admiration, elevating the interaction far beyond the transactional. Consider the intricate art of calligraphy, which you practiced for countless hours. While the beautiful hand was appreciated in letters, it also sharpened your aesthetic discernment. You could discuss the merits of different calligraphic styles, the quality of various inks, or the symbolic meaning of specific brushstrokes. This deep appreciation for art, whether in painting, ceramics, or textiles, allowed you to connect with patrons on a sophisticated level, sharing a mutual understanding of beauty and craftsmanship. You weren't just admiring a piece, you were articulating its essence, its history, and its emotional impact, demonstrating an intellectual depth that captivated and enthralled. This cultivated intelligence was your shield and your sword. It allowed you to navigate the delicate social dynamics of Yoshiwara, to command respect from men who held immense power in the outside world. They came to you, not just for pleasure, but for the pleasure of your company, the stimulation of your mind, the challenge of your wit. Your ability to listen intently, to ask insightful questions, and to offer measured, intelligent responses meant that every encounter was a unique and mentally engaging experience. It was this intricate art of conversational charm, steeped in cultural wisdom, that made an Oiran indispensable, transforming fleeting visits into enduring, albeit professional, relationships. You quickly learned that this psychological game was more intricate than any dance or shamisen melody. It required constant mental agility, a keen understanding of human nature, and the unwavering discipline to project an image of effortless brilliance, even when your mind was working furiously behind the scenes. This intellectual validation, the deep satisfaction of engaging with such a formidable mind, was what truly distinguished your services and ensured your unparalleled demand. Your beauty might have opened the door, but your intellect held the key to your enduring influence, securing your place as a master of calculated charm and profound mental connection in the sophisticated world of Yoshiwara. The intellectual prowess and cultivated charm that distinguished you were not merely academic exercises. They were the very currency of your existence, meticulously deployed in every interaction with your distinguished clientele. This wasn't a casual encounter, it was an elaborate ritual, a highly stylized social dance governed by precise etiquette, where every nuance held meaning, and where you, the Oiran, held a surprising yet undeniable form of power within your gilded sphere. Imagine a client, perhaps a daimyo, eager to impress, making his first overture. He would not simply arrive at your okiya and demand your presence. Oh no. The path to your company was a long and arduous one, designed to test his sincerity, his patience, and, crucially, his financial commitment. His initial visit would be to a chaya, a tea house, where he would entertain your attendants, your young Kamuro and Shinzo, along with other courtesans of lesser rank. He would spend lavishly, demonstrating his wealth and good taste, all while you remained unseen, a distant, enigmatic presence. This was the first, crucial stage, a quiet assessment from your side. a careful observation of his character and intentions conveyed through your network of attendants. If deemed worthy, if his generosity and demeanor proved suitable, he might then progress to a second visit, another expensive evening, again not directly with you, but in your general vicinity, perhaps in an adjacent room within the okiya, catching glimpses of your magnificent silhouette or hearing the distant strains of your shamisen. These preliminary engagements were not mere formalities. They were essential components of the social psychology of Yoshiwara. They built anticipation, established your exclusivity, and allowed you to gauge the client's genuine interest beyond mere novelty. It reinforced the idea that your time, your company, was a rare and valuable commodity, not easily attained. It was only after several such costly visits, after proving his respect, his discernment, and his ability to sustain such an expensive courtship, that a client might finally be granted the privilege of a direct meeting with you. Even then, the etiquette was strict. You would receive him not as a subordinate, but as a queen in your own court. He would be seated in your private rooms, prepared for an evening of sophisticated entertainment and conversation. You would be seated in your most exquisite kimono, your composure flawless, your expression serene. The true power dynamic here was subtle, yet potent. You, despite your indentured status, often held the reins of the interaction. You could choose to be particularly enchanting, to engage deeply with his intellectual pursuits, or you could maintain a cooler, more reserved demeanor, subtly signaling a need for further cultivation. Consider the intricate rules of conversation. You were not to overtly flirt, nor to be overly subservient. Your charm was in your wit, your ability to weave poetry and philosophy into light-hearted banter, to listen with genuine attentiveness, and to offer insights that surprised and delighted. You might gently challenge a client's perspective, not in an aggressive manner, but with a playful intellectual curiosity that demonstrated your own sharp mind. This subtle interplay, this sophisticated sparring of intellect and charm, made your company incredibly addictive for these powerful men, offering them a respite from the rigid formalities of their own lives and a chance to engage with a woman who was their intellectual equal, if not their superior. You had the agency to accept or subtly discourage clients. If a patron displeased you, or if his character proved tiresome, you could, through your attendance and your own carefully managed presence, make it clear that your company would not be easily forthcoming in the future. This was a form of soft rejection, a powerful signal in a world where reputation was everything. Conversely, if a client genuinely captivated you with his intellect, his kindness, or his shared passion for the arts, you might subtly extend your time with him, grant him a deeper level of engagement, or even compose a personal poem for him, a rare and cherished honor. The setting of your interactions, often the exclusive ageya, a high-class tea-house within Yoshiwara, where Oiran entertained, further emphasized this power. These establishments were not mere brothels. They were centers of refined culture, where the atmosphere was designed for sophisticated pleasure and intellectual exchange. Here, surrounded by your retinue and within an environment you largely controlled, you could orchestrate the evening, guiding the flow of conversation, dictating the choice of music, and setting the tone for the entire encounter. You were the conductor of this intricate symphony of charm and intellect. What if it were you, navigating these delicate, high-stakes social situations? Every word you chose, every gesture you made, every silence you allowed, would be a calculated move in a complex game. You would constantly assess your client, reading his unspoken desires, anticipating his thoughts, always maintaining the perfected facade while strategically deploying your charm and intellect. The ability to command respect, to influence without overt control, was a testament to your mastery of this unique social science, a form of power meticulously carved out within the confines of your world. This intricate, multi-stage process of client engagement, the demanding etiquette, and the subtle power dynamics were all essential components of the Oiran's unique position. It ensured that her value was perceived as immense, her presence a coveted prize, and her influence, though indirect, surprisingly profound. She was a master of a psychological dance, turning the constraints of her situation into a stage where her wit, intellect, and calculated charm reigned supreme, allowing her to dictate terms within her own sphere. A true queen of the floating world. You have navigated the intricate dances of wit and charm, mastering the subtle power plays within your sophisticated world. Your intellect is a beacon. Your presence commands respect. Yet, as the paper lanterns dim and the last client departs, a different kind of silence settles over the okiya. In these quiet hours, when the exquisite mask of the Oiran can, for a fleeting moment, be gently set aside, a profound and deeply human yearning often emerges, the longing for a love that is pure, uncomplicated, and truly your own. This is where the gilded cage truly reveals its sharpest edges. For despite your unparalleled beauty, your immense talent, and the admiration you command, true, conventional love, the kind of love that leads to a shared life, a family, a future chosen by you, was almost entirely unattainable. You were bound, not just by the silk threads of your kimono, but by unbreakable contracts, by the immense ever-growing debt to your okiya, a financial tether that held you captive more surely than any physical chain. Your heart, though capable of immense tenderness and passionate longing, was not truly your own to give freely. It was, in a profound and sorrowful sense, another part of the investment, another asset to be managed, to be protected, to be rationed for the economic benefit of the house. Imagine the ache deep within your spirit as you hear hushed tales of ordinary love from your kamuro, simple stories of affection between a fishmonger and his wife, or the playful courtship of young villagers. These simple truths, so readily available to others, were forbidden luxuries to you. Your world, though outwardly magnificent, was in this regard a barren landscape for genuine, unburdened romance. The connections you forged with clients, however deep and intellectually stimulating, were always, fundamentally, transactional. They were performances of affection, carefully managed relationships that could never truly cross the invisible yet impenetrable line into personal freedom or genuine commitment. Yet, even within these rigid confines, the human heart, ever defiant, sometimes dared to dream. Stories, whispered among the older courtesans, or hinted at in melancholic songs played on the shamisen, speak of clandestine romances, of forbidden desires that ignited in the shadows of Yoshiwara. Perhaps a young, earnest patron, captivated beyond the artifice, truly fell in love. Perhaps you, in a rare moment of vulnerability, allowed your own heart to stir, to recognize a kindred spirit beneath the layers of expectation and societal constraint. These were dangerous games played with the highest stakes. Picture a secret meeting, stolen moments in the quiet hush of a moonlit garden, the scent of night-blooming jasmine a conspirator in your whispered hopes, or hurried glances exchanged across a crowded tea room, a shared understanding passing between souls, defying the watchful eyes of attendants and superiors. These clandestine encounters, whether a fleeting touch of hands, a shared poem written in secret, or simply prolonged, soulful gazes, were precious, fragile fragments of genuine connection, fiercely guarded against a world that sought to deny them. But the consequences of defying these strictures, of daring to pursue true love, were often severe, brutal, and heartbreaking. For an Oiran to fall in love with a man who could not, or would not buy out her immense debt was to invite tragedy. Such a romance was not merely disapproved of, it was actively suppressed, violently so if necessary, by the okiya and the strict authorities of Yoshiwara. The scandal could ruin not only the Oiran, but also her house, her future, and the reputation of her beloved. There are chilling tales, echoes of sorrow that still resonate through the polished wooden halls, stories of young lovers separated, of men banished from Yoshiwara forever, or worse, of Oiran disappearing into the grim, forgotten corners of the district, stripped of their titles, their beauty, their very identity, reduced to nothing more than a cautionary whisper. The pressure on the okiya to maintain its reputation and its financial investment in you meant that any genuine threat to your professional status, such as an unsanctioned love affair, was met with swift and unforgiving force. The heart's yearning for freedom and connection was seen as a dangerous liability, a threat to the carefully constructed order of the floating world. Imagine the profound internal conflict, the burning desire for genuine connection battling against the cold, hard logic of your inescapable reality. The moments of stolen joy, however intense, were always overshadowed by the looming specter of discovery, the inevitable heartbreak that awaited. Every shared glance, every whispered word, every secret touch was a gamble, a defiant act against a system designed to deny you personal happiness. This was the crushing weight of the moral dilemma that defined so much of your emotional life. Choosing between the desperate hope of true love and the devastating consequences that would inevitably follow. You would see it in the eyes of older courtesans, a quiet sadness that lingered, a memory of lost love, a testament to the sacrifices made. You would hear it in the mournful notes of a shamisen player, a melody that spoke of unfulfilled longing. And deep within your own heart, you would feel the poignant truth that while you were admired, desired, and revered, the simplest, most profound human connection, the freedom to love and be loved in return, remained the most elusive of all treasures in your glittering, yet profoundly lonely existence. The price of your crown was often the very heart beneath it, the silent heartache of forbidden love, The poignant whispers of what could never be were ever-present shadows in your dazzling world. Yet, for a precious few, for those touched by an almost mythical confluence of circumstance and extraordinary wealth, a different path, a glimmer of freedom occasionally presented itself. This path was known as mizwaj, a term that broadly referred to a courtesan's formal retirement, but for an Oiran, it signified the immensely rare and staggeringly expensive act of purchasing her freedom, severing the unbreakable bonds of debt to her okiya. Imagine the sheer scale of the financial obstacle. Your initial purchase price as a child, the countless hours of your rigorous training, the cost of your exquisite kimonos, your elaborate hair ornaments, your food, housing, and the very upkeep of your magnificent persona over the years, all accumulated into a colossal debt, a sum so astronomical that it would bankrupt even a moderately wealthy man. To achieve mizwaj for an Oiran was not a simple transaction. It was often the most significant financial undertaking of a patron's life. It required a profound depth of devotion, a financial commitment that truly transcended mere infatuation, transforming into a testament of either genuine love or an insatiable desire for unparalleled prestige. The process itself was far from straightforward. It began with an influential patron, often a man of immense wealth and social standing, who would express his unwavering desire to free you. This was not a quick decision, but one that came after years of patronage, proving his sincerity and his capacity. He would negotiate with the okiya's proprietress, a shrewd and calculating woman who understood the full value of her living masterpiece. The price would be painstakingly determined, factoring in not just your outstanding debt, but also the projected income you represented, a future that the okiya was now losing. The rustle of paper during these negotiations, the quiet, intense discussions in hushed rooms, would be charged with unspoken tension, your fate hanging in the balance, a commodity being valued and debated. For you, the Oiran, the prospect of mizwaj would be a conflicting tapestry of emotions. On one hand, the intoxicating dream of liberty, of a life no longer bound by debt or performance, of the possibility of making your own choices. On the other, the profound uncertainty, the fear of leaving the only world you had ever truly known since childhood. This freedom, if achieved, would often mean stepping out of the spotlight, trading your dazzling public persona for a quieter, more ordinary existence, becoming the mistress, or, in extremely rare cases, the wife of your patron. It was a liberation, yes, but often a transition into a different set of societal expectations and domestic responsibilities, a new form of confinement, albeit one potentially chosen with more agency. These instances of escape were exceptionally rare, glittering exceptions against a backdrop of countless women who lived and died within Yoshiwara's confines. Think of the vast majority who never saw the other side of the Omon, except perhaps for a funeral procession. Your story, if it led to mizwaj, would become a whispered legend, a beacon of improbable hope for others, yet also a stark reminder of just how insurmountable the financial barriers truly were. It was a delayed payoff, a reward for enduring years of servitude, but one that very few ever truly collected. There were also cases where a wealthy patron might buy out an Oiran, not to grant her absolute freedom, but to take her as his permanent mistress. While this offered a life of comfort and often a deep personal connection, it still meant a life defined by her past, always under the shadow of her former profession. She might live in a beautiful house, be showered with gifts, and enjoy a degree of independence, but the societal stigma, though softened by her patron's protection, would linger. She was still, in essence, a woman bought, her destiny shaped by financial transactions rather than personal choice. Yet, for many, this was a more preferable fate than remaining in the relentless, demanding world of the okiya. The dream of a simple life, a life where you could wake up without the meticulous ritual of makeup and hair, where your laughter was uncalculated and your tears unseen by critical eyes, was almost impossibly distant. Even the rare whispers of mizwaj served to highlight the profound, unwavering power of money and debt in your world. The freedom you yearned for was not a natural right, but a commodity bought at an exorbitant price, almost always by a man. So, while these rare narratives offered a poignant, bittersweet relief, a flicker of light in the often dark landscape of an Oiran's emotional life, they also underscored the pervasive hardship. For every story of escape, there were 100, perhaps 1,000 tales of enduring confinement, of hearts that learned to beat within the rhythm of their gilded cage. These were the moments where you would feel the full weight of your circumstances, recognizing that the extraordinary effort and resources required for even a semblance of personal liberty placed it tragically out of reach for most. Your yearning for a life beyond Yoshiwara, a life where love was truly free, remained a quiet, often unspoken prayer in the depths of your soul. The glimmer of potential freedom, however fleeting or rare, often only served to underscore the immense, unshakable burdens that defined your daily existence. For all the admiration, the artistry, and the meticulously crafted glamour that surrounded you, the life of an Oiran was also one of profound, unseen costs, a relentless toll exacted not just on your spirit, but on your very body and mind. It is time now to strip away the final layers of silk and powder, to look beyond the dazzling illusion, and confront the raw, unfiltered human cost of your exquisite, yet confined life. Imagine the relentless physical demands. From the earliest hours of morning until deep into the night, your body was a canvas, a performance tool, constantly under pressure. The weight of your elaborate kimonos, layer upon precious layer, was a constant, heavy embrace, restricting your movements, forcing you into a posture of unnatural elegance. Each magnificent garment, a work of art in itself, pressed down on your shoulders, your chest, and your waist. You learned to breathe shallowly, to move with a measured, gliding grace that belied the sheer physical effort required. This was not comfort. It was a constant physical exertion, a subtle but pervasive strain that permeated every moment of your waking life. Then there was your hair, styled into those towering, intricate masterpieces, the weight of the lacquered coils, the heavy ornamental pins. They pulled at your scalp, causing headaches that pulsed behind your eyes, a constant throb of discomfort. To protect these elaborate styles, you were often forced to sleep on a takamakura, a small, hard wooden pillow that supported your neck. Imagine the stiffness, the perpetual ache in your neck and shoulders, the restless nights spent trying to find a position of minimal discomfort. Your body never truly allowed the deep relaxation it craved. Sleep, when it came, was often fitful, interrupted, never truly restorative, for a body always under siege by its own beauty. The makeup, too, was a physical burden. The thick, white oshiroi, while creating an ethereal beauty, was heavy and occlusive, preventing your skin from breathing, contributing to breakouts and discomfort beneath its flawless surface. The delicate red pigments around your eyes and lips, though exquisitely applied, often irritated sensitive skin. This daily ritual of transformation, essential for your public persona, was a quiet act of physical sacrifice, a constant compromise between beauty and bodily well-being, and the nights, the long, endless nights spent entertaining. Even when clients were engaging and conversation flowed, the sheer duration of these performances was exhausting. You had to maintain an alert, captivating presence, your mind always sharp, your wit ready, your smile unwavering, even as your body yearned for rest. The late hours, the constant stimulation, the subtle pressure to always be on, these gradually eroded your natural rhythms, leaving you in a state of perpetual quiet fatigue that no amount of superficial glamour could truly mask. The cold, damp air that seeped into the okiya in winter, the suffocating heat of summer beneath those heavy silks, further added to the physical toll. Your health, often fragile to begin with due to your early childhood, was constantly under threat from the demands of your profession. Beyond the physical, there was the profound, crushing weight of emotional and psychological burdens. Despite being constantly surrounded by people, your Kamuro, your Shinzo, the other courtesans, your clients, you experienced a profound sense of loneliness and emotional isolation. The Oiran, by virtue of her status and her meticulously crafted persona, was set apart, an unreachable ideal. How could you form genuine connections when every interaction was, in essence, a performance? Who truly saw the woman beneath the layers of silk and powder, beneath the practiced smile, behind the witty repartee? Very few, if any. Your truest feelings, your fears, your hopes, your moments of weakness, these had to be meticulously hidden, suppressed deep within. To reveal them would be to shatter the illusion, to compromise your professional integrity, to risk your very standing. Imagine the psychological impact of living a life that was a perpetual, meticulously crafted performance. Every gesture, every word, every emotion you displayed was carefully chosen, strategically deployed. You were an actress, constantly on stage, your own script written for you by the demands of your profession and the expectations of your patrons. This constant self-monitoring, this relentless suppression of your authentic self, led to a profound internal fragmentation. The Oiran became a flawless shell, while the true woman retreated further and further into the quiet, guarded chambers of her own heart. The line between your public persona and your private self blurred, perhaps even vanished. leaving you with a sense of emptiness, a profound disconnect from who you truly were. There was a silent guilt, too, a quiet reflection on the societal structures that placed you here, on the desperation that forced your family's hand, on the unchosen path you walked. You were a product of your world, admired and desired, yet simultaneously a victim of its rigid expectations. This internal struggle, this battle to reconcile the dazzling exterior with the aching interior, contributed to a deep, unspoken melancholy that many Oiran carried. You were a symbol of beauty and art, but also a monument to human sacrifice. A life lived for others, with little left for yourself. In those quiet moments, perhaps late at night after the last client had departed, or in the brief solitude before the morning rituals began, you would feel the full weight of this unseen burden. The silence of your opulent room, broken only by the rustle of a passing breeze or the distant call of a night bird, would amplify the echoes of your own solitude. You were surrounded by luxury, yet felt profoundly alone, a star shining brightly, but from an immense, unbridgeable distance. This was the profound psychological toll, the quiet suffering that accompanied the glittering crown of the Oiran, a life of exquisite performance purchased at the immeasurable cost of true self and genuine connection. The beauty was undeniable, but the price, the unseen burdens, were heavier than any kimono. As the final layers of this intricate journey gently unfurl, we arrive at the quiet heart of the Oiran's legacy. We began this night inviting you to imagine your life as an Oiran, a vision of perfected beauty, yet trapped in a gilded cage. And now, as the fragrant incense of Yoshiwara begins to fade in your mind, let us reflect on the enduring, complex icon you have become. You were, and forever remain, a symbol of exquisite artistry, a master of dance, music, calligraphy, and poetry. Your intellect, your wit, and your profound cultural knowledge were your most formidable weapons, captivating the highest echelons of Edo society. You navigated a world of stringent rules and subtle power dynamics with unparalleled grace, transforming every interaction into a meticulously choreographed performance. Your strength, your resilience, and your unwavering dedication to a life not chosen, yet lived with absolute perfection, are undeniable. But beneath the shimmering silks, behind the flawless mask of white makeup, and beyond the elaborate, often painful hairstyles, lay a profound human story of sacrifice. We've journeyed through the heart-wrenching loss of childhood innocence, the relentless discipline of your apprentice years, and the immense, unseen burdens that weighed heavily on your spirit. We've glimpsed the poignant ache of forbidden love, the deep solitude, and the quiet psychological toll of a life lived perpetually on display. A life where the line between your true self and your public persona blurred into almost nothingness. Your existence was a paradox, revered and desired, yet deeply confined, celebrated for your beauty, yet silently yearning for genuine connection and freedom. Your legacy, then, is not one of simple glamour, but of profound human complexity. You were a woman of extraordinary skill and beauty, forced into a destiny of perpetual performance, yet you found ways to assert your agency, to wield influence, and to inspire awe. You became a living legend, an embodiment of the Edo period's artistic heights and its stark social realities, a figure whose quiet strength resonates through history. Now, as your journey as the Oiran draws to a gentle close, allow these reflections to settle deep within you. The insights gained, the empathy felt, these are the true treasures of our shared exploration. If this journey into the life of the Oiran has offered you a new perspective, a deeper understanding, or simply a moment of tranquil reflection, I invite you to share that feeling. Not for me, but to help others discover this quiet, immersive experience. If you are ready to gently transition towards a peaceful sleep, if you connected with the profound story of the Oiran, please consider leaving a like on this video. Your simple act helps YouTube share this message with others who seek moments of calm and thoughtful immersion. And if you've journeyed with us to this very end, if you've walked every step of this path with empathy and an open heart, I invite you to share a secret comment, a testament to your persistence. Write in the comments, the Oiran's heart. This is your silent declaration, a way for us to know you are truly part of our deeply engaged community, one of the few who reach the profound depths of this story. If you wish to continue exploring tranquil narratives and historical insights designed for reflection and rest, join our community. Subscribing is not just a click, it's an act of commitment to your own well-being, a promise to yourself to seek moments of quiet discovery and peaceful contemplation. Together, we build a space where history whispers its secrets and tranquility finds its home. Thank you for allowing us to share this deeply human story with you. Now, take a final, deep, calming breath. Feel the last remnants of the floating world gently drift away. Allow your body to sink deeper into comfort, your mind to quiet, and your spirit to find a profound, well-deserved rest. The Oiran's journey is complete, and your peaceful sleep begins.